It may seem odd and premature to say that NHL franchises should be in panic mode only 5 or 6 games into the regular season, but that's the exact situation that the Edmonton Oilers, Colorado Avalanche, and Nashville Predators find themselves. But I'm actually not that worried about these teams, so I'm going to explain the common thread that is holding back all 3 of these teams and the individual issues that each can fix to get their seasons back on track. Despite the fact that these teams came into the season with expectations of going on deep runs in the playoffs, but at minimum making the playoffs, these 3 teams sit at the bottom of the Central and Pacific divisions with a combined record between the 3 of 3 wins and 13 losses, a total of 6 points earned between the 3 of them. In addition, these 3 teams sit at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to goal differential in the NHL, the Predators having the worst in the entire league at -13, the Edmonton Oilers being slightly ahead of them at -12, and the Colorado Avalanche right in front of them at -11. The only other team in the NHL who can boast a goal differential as terrible as them is the San Jose Sharks, who were -11 through 5 games, but are also a team deep in a rebuild who just finished at the bottom of the NHL last year and weren't expected to be that much better this year. But these other 3 teams were expected to be good. The Oilers, of course, were the defending Western Conference champions. The Nashville Predators beat huge additions in free agency, including Marchessault, Stamkos, and Shea, and the Colorado Avalanche's lineup is loaded with players that include Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, and the reigning NHL MVP Nathan MacKinnon. So what has happened to these 3 teams? Well, we can start the biggest reason, in my opinion, that all 3 of these teams are struggling out of the gate: goaltending. When you look at goaltenders who have played in at least 2 games in this young season, the Avs, Predators, and Oilers all have their starters in the bottom 15 when it comes to goals saved above expected per 60. Alexander Georgiev ranks 2nd worst, Stuart Skinner is 6th worst, and Jussi Saros is 13th worst. And to make matters worse for the Avalanche, Justus Annunen, their backup goaltender who's played in 2 games to try and spell Georgiev's terrible start, is the worst goaltender in the NHL when it comes to this statistic. And this trend remains consistent when it comes to save percentage. Annunen is the worst goaltender who's played multiple games with a .765 save percentage. Georgiev is 5th worst with an .811 save percentage. Skinner ranks 11th worst with an .851 save percentage, and Saros is actually 20th worst with an .875 save percentage. So all of them are in the bottom 20 when it comes to save percentage, and all of them have a save percentage below 90. As a result, these 3 teams all rank in the bottom 5 in the NHL of goals allowed above expected, Colorado leading the pack at 13.82 goals allowed above expected. All these teams just need average goaltending, and their goal differentials would look a lot better. Colorado in particular would actually have a positive goal differential if their goalie could just stop anything, while Nashville and Edmonton would still be negative, but a lot closer to even. And while it's easy to say for these 3 teams, oh, if they just get better goaltending, things will even out, I'm not sure that that's going to happen, or at least not happen as dramatically as it needs to for Colorado and Edmonton. Georgiev, Annunen, and Stuart Skinner have all had pretty up and down careers, which is why I'm not sure that betting on them to stabilize is going to work out for those teams. Now for the Predators and Jussi Saros, who has been one of the best goaltenders in the NHL, to me, I think this is just an uncharacteristically bad start, and unless there's some injury we don't know about, I think he will stabilize soon, which is one of the reasons why I wouldn't be quite as worried for the Predators. But for the Avalanche and the Oilers, it's fair to question whether that answer is in-house. The Avalanche in particular remind me a lot of last year's New Jersey Devils, who came into the year with a couple of shaky question marks in goal, who played well for them the year before, and just had down years. I really think that's what's happening in Colorado, and if I was GM Chris McFarland, I would be aggressive in trying to get another goaltender in there before you fall too far out of the hunt. However, one area where I think the Avalanche could be in a position to bounce back is with regards to injuries. Obviously, they've been missing Gabe Landeskog on and off for years now, and it's unclear when he's going to be playing, but they also came into the season without Arturi Lehkonen and Val Nichushkin, not an injury, but still not in the lineup. And then early on in the season, they lost Jonathan Drouin and Devon Toews. Those 2 injuries in particular were big blows to the Avalanche. Now there is hope that Devon Toews could be back soon. He's scheduled to travel with the Avalanche on their upcoming road trip, and Nichushkin will be eligible for reinstatement coming out of the NHLPA Player Assistance Program in November. But the Avs are definitely depleted right now, and they're going to have to soldier on without all of these key contributors in their lineup for at least the next week or so. On the other hand, the Predators are mostly healthy, as are the Oilers, except for the fact that they are missing Evander Kane, who missed the start of the season after having surgery. Kane is realistically not going to be back anytime soon, but I don't think that the Oilers felt like losing Kane for the beginning of the season was going to put them this far behind the 8 ball, especially with the fact that they brought in guys guys like Jeff Skinner to replace him. And when you look at the depth of the Colorado Avalanche when it comes to their scoring, you can see that they are really missing some of these guys. Beyond their top 5, Rantanen, McKinnon, Makar, Colton, and Casey Middlestat, they are not getting much of any offensive contributions from the rest of their team. This is a very top-heavy team that needs some reinforcements desperately, and having $35 to $40 million on the IR is just not a recipe for success. So you have goaltending woes that should stabilize for the Predators, and injuries that should hopefully heal up when it comes for the Avalanche. That leaves the Edmonton Oilers, who are a relatively healthy team other than not having Evander Kane, and a goaltending situation that's probably not going to stabilize with Stuart Skinner. Even though he did turn it on a little bit in the playoffs last year, he's still very inconsistent. But a problem for the Edmonton Oilers, and a big reason that I'm concerned about this team above all others, is that this team is just not getting contributions from the players that they need them from. Connor McDavid only has a goal and 6 points on the year, while Draisaitl has 3 goals and 5 points. Jeff Skinner, one of their big offseason additions, 2 goals and 4 points. But they are also missing contributions from guys like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who only has 2 points. Zach Hyman, 0 points in 6 games. Victor Arvidsson, another big addition in the offseason, has no points in 6 games as well. But what's curious is that the Oilers as a whole are actually one of the best teams when it comes to expected goals for on the season. They rank 8th in the NHL, and their goals for above expected is the worst in the NHL at -7. So they've had about 7 goals taken away from them because of the opponent's goaltending. And when you look at the 4 games that they've lost individually, you can see that that's the case. In 3 of the games, the opposing team is credited with having stolen at least 2 goals from the Oilers, and in the other game, Dan Vladar, of all people, stole 1.5 goals above expected. So you could easily say that the Oilers, if they were just facing average goaltending, probably have 2 more wins than they do now. So yeah, I think that the Oilers are going to start scoring more goals, and that combined with getting maybe average to below average goaltending from Stuart Skinner, which is what happened last year after he had a rough start as well, should put the Oilers right back on track. This isn't to say that all 3 of these teams should sit pat and be complacent, because they do have some serious underlying issues, but to me, none of them have issues that are so unfixable that they've gone from contenders to sellers in an instant. These are 3 still pretty good teams in my opinion, and they have plenty of runway to turn things around, but they need to start acting fast, because if they don't, things are going to get very late very quickly.